Hey guys, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update, let you know what's going on with the Fixed Engine project. So, I am I wouldn't say I have an obstacle, but there's something I need to figure out. So, if you remember, I mentioned that I need to look into multi-threaded socket programming. Reason being, I need a way to start the server, the appropriate way to start the server, and not sort of take away the control from the user. Because if you just start up the server, then, and I gotta learn the proper terminology here, but then while the server is running and listening for a connection from the client, there isn't going to be any prompt or anything. Like the user is, so basically the program is going to be stuck in that. Wow. It's interesting just in me saying that. I mean, I knew I needed to do multi-threaded programming, figure that much out, but I didn't yet figure out some of the reasons why, the details, and I think I just figured out part of it. Right? This is interesting that I've been looking at this, and only just now did I make a connection. So the connection I made is, so I was focused on this thing about how I can't run the server in the I can't run the server in the background like you would on a shell, right? You could just type a command and type in ampersand and it'll run it in the background. I can't do that. That concept doesn't apply in Python. So I was like, oh, okay, so how do I get around this? Oh, multi-threaded programming. Okay, fine. Like that was the approach, right? And I found information about doing what I need to do, and I could have probably had something up and running by now if that's all I wanted. But the point is to learn, right? And I'm not happy with my level of understanding about multi-threaded programming right now. I don't want to just cut and paste something. I want to understand at least the basic principles. And I think I found like one good tutorial, but then the rest of them, it's just, I'm getting like answers to questions and stuff. I need like a 101 network programming 101 type of deal. But anyway, so here's the deal, which is the thing that I just figured out. So a thread or multi-threaded programming, obviously you can run multiple threads at the same time. And I just listened to myself, what I just said to you earlier. I said about how, what's the problem? I can't run the server because when I run the server, it takes away control from the user, right? So you can't do anything while the server's running, right? So I'm like, wait a minute. So we're talking about essentially, it sounds so weird because it's so simple. We're talking about essentially being able to do multiple things at once, right? I've got a thread with the server, and I have a thread running with a menu system or whatever that the user is using. So while the user is interacting with the program and doing various tasks, there's a server that's running concurrently via a thread. That's all it is. That is all it is. Wow. I literally just figured this out from doing this video. I didn't make the connection. That's what it is. I need to I'm elevating my programming skills to multi-threading. I want to basically, everything I've been doing thus far has been single-threaded, right? I do one task at a time. My programs run in sequence. Task 1, then task 2, then task 3, then task 4. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily actually sequential. But the point is that you can only do one thing at a time. So I can do task 1, task 2, task 3, task 1, task 2, task 12. But I'm always at a single point in the program. So if I'm doing, so if I need to have a server running, right? And a client connected to that server, right? And then I need to do other things as well. I need threads, right? I need threads. And then I can just extrapolate that fundamentally the way that this would work. I mean, I need to read through the material, but fundamentally I can extrapolate that the way this would work is that it would be very similar to the way that I'm doing things now, except obviously there's a thread module, and there must be a way that I can somehow point things to that thread. So probably there might be a definition thing where you define a thread, maybe even name a thread. Like it could be a thread identifier, so I could allocate like here's thread B, and thread B consists of this. So I mean, it's a thing to do multiple tasks at the same time. So threads would logically have to be aware of typical programming constructs, functions, loops, conditionals. I mean, the whole point is to do multiple things, so that would include pretty much anything. I would think. So that means maybe it's a targeting system, like the way you write to files. You target, yeah, that could be it. You reference a file and then you do operations that are relevant to that file that you specified previously. So maybe you could reference a thread. Yeah, somehow you'd have to contain the logic into like maybe there's a block of code that's like the thread becomes the anchor. So like you have to indent each level of like whatever it is you're doing. So maybe the main level would actually be, so I have all these levels, right? And then I would put the outdent, the thread, right? This is thread 1, right? And then in thread 1, you have this function and this conditional and this whatever, indent, indent, outdent, outdent, indent, indent, outdent, outdent, indent, indent, outdent, all different levels. And then when you're done with that particular thread, perhaps you outdent back to the thread level. So now that's one. So I don't know, something like that. But I'm just obviously speculating, which is sort of an intellectual exercise, which I think is beneficial for me to think through the process. Before I actually learn how this works, thinking through what would be the way that I would do it if I were going to write threading. I was going to build a threading library. If I were going to build that sort of technology or method, how would I do it? What problems might I run into trying to design it? And then when I actually look and learn about threading, I can sort of look at it in context rather than just me just randomly taking on information. So I don't know. That's my little intellectual exercise for the night. We'll see how beneficial it is when I get to it. But still, my goal right now is to find a nice tutorial that goes over. I don't need a whole elaborate. I just want to understand. This is the fundamental thing I want to understand. How do I direct a piece of code to a thread? I don't know if that even makes sense the way I'm wording it. I mean, I imagine, let's say I'm going to take a loop, right? A loop is going to loop over and over saying the same thing. Hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world. And I want that to run in a thread so that I can do something else at the same time. How do I target the loop to the thread? Or how do I define that what is to come is a thread, right? And then in there, I probably do the normal stuff. And then when the thread is done, I indicate that the thread is over. I don't know. But I just want to know, how do you target a thread? I mean, either you're going to do it in the beginning, like you're setting a variable, or you're going to do it at the ending, I'm not sure. Anyway, CPU Squad Fix Engine project is ongoing. Other than that, had an awesome meeting today at